Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive shift in artificial intelligence, the rise of Agentic AI. We're not just talking about another tool, but about something that could become the central nervous system for an entire company.
So let's start with this big question. What if AI could be more than just a thing you give commands to? We're exploring a world where AI becomes an active collaborator, one that actually understands your vision and works alongside you to achieve it.
And that right there is the core evolution we're seeing. We are moving past those simple one-and-done interactions, where you type in a prompt and get a result. We're stepping into an era of real dynamic partnership.
Okay, so this slide really breaks it down. Think of passive tools kind of like a vending machine. You put in a very specific request and you get one static thing back. End of transaction. But collaborative agents, that's completely different. That's more like having a conversation with a brilliant teammate. It's dynamic, it builds on itself, and most importantly, it remembers what you talked about before.
This brings us to a really crucial idea: sustained creative dialogue. So what is it? It's the agent's power to remember the entire history of a project. It knows the exact style you're going for, it remembers the feedback you gave it yesterday, and it understands the technical limits you're up against. It's this long-term memory that really transforms it from a simple generator into a true creative partner. So how does an agent actually pull this off? Well, it comes down to three key capabilities that all work together. First up is context retention. That's its memory, its ability to recall past conversations and decisions. Then you've got adaptive learning, which is how it gets better at understanding your specific style over time. And third, there's multimodal integration, its power to work across all kinds of different media, which is so important that we're going to look at it right now.
Multimodal integration is a game changer. It means the agent can jump between different formats while keeping your single creative vision totally intact. Just imagine this for a second. You feed it a script. The agent can then generate a storyboard that matches it perfectly, and then even suggest a musical score that captures the mood. All three things, the text, the images, and the sound, are completely aligned with your one unified direction.
And this really gets to the heart of it all: intent alignment. The agent isn't just blindly following your orders to spit out a result. No, it's actually developing an understanding of your purpose, the why behind what you're creating. It helps you navigate challenges and reach your goal because it fundamentally shares that goal with you. All right, so we've seen how this works for a creative partner. Now let's scale this whole idea up. How do we take this collaborative intelligence and apply it to the massive complexity of a modern corporation? Well, the very first step is to stop thinking about your company's knowledge as some static library and start seeing it as a living brain. And to do that, these agents need to be able to tap into and connect all the collective knowledge that's locked away in countless different systems. We're talking about finally breaking down those data silos that drive big companies crazy. And this requires a massively integrated ecosystem. Let's walk through it. Internally, the agent connects to where your knowledge actually lives. Your wikis on SharePoint and Confluence, your conversations on Slack and MS Teams. It needs to understand your projects through Jira and Asana, your code bases from GitHub and GitLab, and even your customer history from HR systems in the CRM. But that's just half the picture. Externally, it's pulling in real-time market data from sources like Bloomberg and Reuters, grabbing new research from academic and patent databases, checking legal standards in regulatory databases, and connecting all of that with tools we use every day like Google Drive and OneDrive, and even web monitoring and translation services. So when you connect all these different pieces, everything from a casual chat on Slack to a formal report from Bloomberg, you create what you can only describe as a corporate nervous system. Information isn't trapped in silos anymore. It flows freely, creating a single, intelligent, and most importantly, actionable stream of information that gets the context of the entire organization. Okay, but for a system this powerful, a system that touches pretty much every single piece of company data, trust isn't just a feature, it's the absolute foundation. For anyone to actually use this, it has to be built on an uncompromising architecture of security and compliance. Period. The absolute cornerstone of this security architecture is something called Role-Based Access Control, or RBAC. To put it simply, the agent inherits the exact same permissions as the user it's helping. It can't see or access a single thing that the user themselves isn't authorized to see. This makes sure that the chain of command and data security rules are never, ever broken. And RBAC is just the first of several critical security layers. It works hand in hand with a data classification system, which labels all information by how sensitive it is, public, confidential, top secret. So the agent always knows what it's handling. Then every single action the agent takes is carved in stone in an unchangeable audit log. And finally, you have compliance monitoring tools that are always running,
making sure every operation follows strict legal standards like GDPR.
And this really gets to the ultimate goal here. Security isn't some feature you bolt on at the end. It's woven into the very fabric of the system from day one. The whole point is to achieve data provenance, to have a crystal clear, auditable record that tells you exactly who or what touched a piece of information and why they did it. So when we bring these two halves together, the incredible, dynamic, creative potential of these collaborative agents and the secure, deeply integrated architecture of a corporate-wide system, we end up with something that is genuinely transformative. At the end of the day, this is the fundamental difference. A static database is like a library full of books. Sure, the information is in there somewhere, but it's passive, it's siloed, and you have to do all the heavy lifting to find it and connect the dots. A corporate nervous system, on the other hand, is like having an expert librarian who not only knows where every single book is, but actually understands the question you're trying to answer, and can synthesize information from dozens of sources to give you one single coherent and actionable piece of intelligence.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. If every single piece of your organization's collective memory, every project, every conversation, every last data point was all connected and understood in its proper context, what new insights would bubble to the surface? What impossible questions could you finally ask?